This is Scratch Your Own Itch, the one show that delivers the conversations that we're afraid to share, but need to. This show is all about creating a life worth living. I'm Logan Tyler Nelson, and I'm your host. So, you're going to hear conversations with creators and entrepreneurs talk about what they do, their current and past traumas, how they became who they are, and what they are truly curious about. This is the show where we talk about the things we think about a lot, but need to talk about more. Please take note that this show is not a substitute for actually creating a life worth living, because this show will stir your beliefs, make you question what it means to create a life worth living. So my promise to you is to always give you one question to answer for yourself today to start turning your dreams into a reality. Hey ladies and gents, so this is going to be a huge gift for you guys. Huge early Christmas present. Anyone that listens to this whole episode. Bryan has an enormous heart, and he's super honest and raw and real. He gets into a story that he says he's never actually shared on another podcast, which gives me so much, just makes me feel the feels, because honestly, that's what I wanted to start this podcast with, is really just for people to be honest, to make it feel like it's a business show meets a therapist's office that doesn't really suck, and so I'm excited for you to really see this guy that may on the outside look like he's super successful, and he is, but also see what it takes. It's like he is someone who's able to really get down and be honest with himself and be honest with the stuff that's going on in his business so he can truly be the best provider for his customers. And so, without further ado, enjoy my interview with the one and only Bryan Wallace. Hey, ladies and gents, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the Scratch Your Own Itch podcast. I really appreciate it, because I know for a fact you've been listening to almost any other show, but you came into this one, and that means a ton to me, and it's for a reason. It's not just because, I want to entertain myself and get my mind off other things. It's for a real reason, and you need to know that, and you're the authority of your own life. But I have an incredible guest on today who I am super wicked excited to share with you. His name is Bryan Wallace. And if you're wondering who he is, get excited, because he's the founder and the president of Now Sourcing, an industry-leading infographic design agency based in Louisville, Kentucky, and Cincinnati, Ohio, which works with companies that range from startups to Fortune 500s. Bryan also runs in Linkedln Local, which I love, because I love LinkedIn. It's my new hub. I'm rarely on Facebook anymore. LinkedIn is the place to be now. And he hosts Next Action podcast, which you got to check out. It's a very good, short and sweet and to the point podcast, much like this one. And he has been named Google Small Business Advisor for 2016 and 2018. That is quite an accolade. But I don't want to continue go on. I want you to introduce yourself to the one and only Bryan Wallace.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's really a pleasure, and I've been looking forward to it for a long time. And hey there.
Thank you, man. So I just want to jump right into it. What's the one little story that's not too long, but it's something that you could maybe sum up to giving an overall, deep, meaningful message out of the business that you're doing right now?
Sure. So I've been running Now Sourcing the last 12 and a half years, And for the better part of the last 10 or so, we've only been dedicated to infographics. Before that, we did social media back barely when social media existed on the business scene. And I really feel like we've helped refine our craft over the years to the point where some of the world's most attractive brands seek us out, which is a wonderful thing for anybody in business to experience. Something that really stands out for when I saw the real ramifications of what we did a few years ago. We were able to get a basketball player a $64 million contract right before the trade deadline, basically by reshaping the way the NBA thought about him. And I think that that's quite an achievement. There's always people that you see on the internet and they're like, oh, wow, I was featured in this and that, and I had a quote and so and so. But to really have an impact and change somebody's life, I mean, obviously we didn't shoot all the basketball scores for him, but we were able to really turn it up in a way that I thought was quite beneficial.
Who was this famous basketball player?
Sure, it's Tobias Harris.
Wow, man. So, tell me, because I think this is pretty interesting. What is like one trait that Tobias has that you think is just a sort of like secret of success that more people could use as a habit in their daily life to maybe become successful like yourself and Tobias?
That's an excellent question. So I think that not everybody has what it takes to play in the NBA. You might have to have the athletic ability. You might not be tall enough, whatever. But something that I think he does really well, even at a young age, and something that I do, I'm older than him, something I think you do, and something that a lot of the successful do out there is consistency. Consistency doesn't necessarily mean that you have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and all of that. I personally like to wake up a bit earlier than most people, but I don't think that's what it is. I think it's the consistency of having like a regimen and sticking to it. I think a lot of folks, especially the internet, especially watching entrepreneurs, you just see everybody chasing the shiny new thing, and you watch your friends on Instagram and everybody looks like they have a perfect life. But you and I know, like, people do not have a perfect life. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of overcoming challenges out there. And I think that if you really try to just get into some kind of regular regimen, it's just easier to live your life. I know, maybe everybody doesn't love Facebook these days, and people might think that Mark Zuckerberg is a little weird, but doesn't he have like a whole closet of just the same hoodie? And if you ask him, he'll say, well, why do I have to waste time with my life on a non-decision? Now, you don't have to be quite that black and white, sure, but I think getting a lot of the noise and distraction out of your life and really organizing it in a way like that, I think is really incredible. Now, you asked about Tobias specifically. I think that if most people had the strength and dedication of that young man and the way that he works out and how serious he is about it, I think that you could really achieve really anything that is on your particular path.
Oh man, I love that. I mean, the way you launched into consistency, that is really key with anything. And your shiny object syndrome, everyone has it. But I think we all have shiny object syndrome because we think we got to fix something that's not really broken, which comes down to awareness. So I really like to ask you, like, what do you think you do inside of your practice as far as business to be currently aware, so it's not just stagnating, but it's truly growing?
It's also a wonderful question. So I think remaining relevant and always spending time on some level of research and development, not just chasing after the shiny new thing, but really trying to stay ahead of what the public is interested in. So a lot of people say, oh, so you're in the infographic industry. And I say, well, not really. It looks like I am, but really I try to be in the what are people going to want in the next 3 to 5 years industry. So I don't get into things first. I believe into getting things early when I start to see an uptick in interest, right? So I think that that's certainly a good place to be. But I'll also comment on what I think the true future of leadership is about. It's not about the hard-charging type A guy that's all rah, rah, rah and all that. And a lot of people, I think, have come to detest that way of leading. Leading is understanding that your weakness is your strength, leading with heart, leading with passion, showing a team that you are not just full of it and just relying on them, but you're happy to take the reins and do a lot of that yourself. And I think that people connect to what we'll call the highly visible CEO or the founder, right? So a lot of times if people are on our website and there's a little live chat on there, a lot of the times it's me. And sometimes people are like, come on, is this really Bryan Wallace? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, who else would you rather talk to? And they're like, yeah, good point. A lot of people don't really care like that. But I personally do. I think that people can see if you're transparent and care, or if you're just kind of reading from some cue cards that somebody made for you to pretend like you care, or to hide behind some PR company or whatnot,
Yeah. Oh gosh, like it's just so easy with the internet being so robotic that it is almost easy to be somebody that you're really not. And so I guess that kind of goes into my next question is, whether it be business, health, maybe a relationship, like what's something that you're currently struggling with?
What am I struggling with? So I think professionally we're doing great, and personally we've had some health challenges lately. My mom isn't doing so great, and we actually just got back from a trip from New York. So that's not something you can take easily, right? I mean, health is something that I think we all take for granted. All we have is today. We wake up every morning, and it's a wonderful blessing and miracle. But a lot of people just hit the snooze button and wish that they could just stay in bed all day. But if they knew otherwise, I think that they would see it differently. So I don't know. I feel like I've been through a lot in my life, and I'm not going to say like I don't struggle like anybody else, but I feel like overcoming just all sorts of personal and professional challenges over a lifetime so far, I definitely
Could you give
have
us
some
one
tenacity
example?
of things that have been challenging.
Yeah, something that you really, really struggled with, and
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't really talk. I'm usually on more like entrepreneurial podcasts that are all about marketing and growth and things like that. But I know what you're about, and I think that that's cool. And I heard the story of why you started it. So I'm happy to answer that here. This is pretty rare for people who listen to me, but I'll give it to you since you asked, and since that's who you're really trying to go here with. So, um, the first child that my wife and I had actually died when he was 1 day old. And I think that that's probably one of the hardest possible challenges a person could go through in their life. Not that we're competing, of course, but to have that happen and to basically watch your child die like that is, if you can face that, I think you can face pretty much anything.
Oh, wow, my heart goes out to you, Bryan. That's gonna make someone feel a lot less alone, because you're not the only one that's probably dealt with some sort of loss. It may not be exactly directly losing a child, but it's losing somebody that's just like, how do you continue to be yourself when you've identified yourself with someone that you planted your life into?
Yeah, and I would
Um,
say that you don't, right? I think that you truly become a bit different. I would say that I'm not the same person that I was back then. I think that I don't take opportunity for granted. I don't think I would have talked about stuff like this before that. You know what I mean? I think it really forced me to look at myself in a different light.
well, thank you so much for just being so open and nice and available. And my old acting teacher used to say that it's one of my favorite quotes ever. And we'll lighten things up now because it takes courage to truly feel things. It's one of my favorite quotes. What's one of your favorite quotes that's in a book that you may have recently read, or a book in the past that you read?
Hmm. So let's see. There's a couple of books that I'll throw out there. I think for folks who don't read Seth Godin, I think he's a fantastic writer and writes a number of different kinds of things. In a particular book called Linchpin, he talks all about not having a specific path. So I think a lot of people who work the 9 to 5, they trade the 9 to 5 and the so-called security as opposed to running their own kind of business, pursuing their dreams, becoming an entrepreneur. Not that everybody should be an entrepreneur, but at least to try to follow your passions, see if it will work out, see if it's something you truly enjoy. But he talks about how to this kind of road to success, there isn't a map and there isn't just some bulleted list of responsibilities to hand you. There is no map. He talks all about a number of really successful people and how they just kind of created their own journey. They weren't waiting for people to tell them specifically what to do. So I think that that's a powerful message for everybody out there. I think if we're on the same vein, there's another book by John Acuff called Quitter. So not to ruin the whole book for everybody here, but basically a lot of people, they don't allow their dreams to take root. So they'll leave their job before they even know who their clients are, what to charge, how to collect money, and things like that. So he basically says not to leave your day job to allow enough time to let your dream job take root and really persist. And what else shall we go with? I could go with some more. I'll throw one other one out there. So there's a wonderful book by the Eisenberg brothers called Be Like Amazon. And there's a lot of really interesting things that it goes into about the story of Amazon, but the entire book is more like a conversation like you and I are having, but you never know what the two people are called. You don't even know where they're going. And the entire thing is just a conversation. I really think that that's a really interesting book filled with, oh man, too many quotes to even start with. But one of the things it talks about are the different kinds of people you see in life. And one of the things that we said, like with the shiny new thing before that made me think of it, he talks all about how one of the people that you see in life, they're always riding a wave. And I think for us to kind of be truly entrepreneurial in spirit, to just ride wave after wave like that isn't the way to do it. To be the navigator and really kind of chart your course, watching your North Star, whatever that may be for you, I think is really the path that one should follow.
That's just, oh my God, dude, I'm super excited for that last book because I actually listen to podcasts because the conversation, I feel, does help one really take in information and learn it on a different level than just a book which tells stories and there's great narration, but a conversation almost battles the ideas, and it's the reason why I think before there were books and stuff, they had a lot of storytelling and ancestors and our ancestors and whatnot. And the reason why there was storytelling was because they could have a conversation with the people that were going to be the leaders of the tribe one day, and then they could tell those stories and have a conversation with their kids and stuff like that. But oh gosh, we could go on for hours about that and the way one obviously digests information and whatnot. But I really want to just add to you a few more questions because you've delivered so much value already. You've been so honest with us and just so open about your life. So just a few more questions, Bryan, and then we'll round it out strong.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Awesome. So I really like this question because I think it kind of gives a level of certainty to people in their business. What is one app that people could download that you think will give them more productivity in their day and really be able to strive so much further than they would usually have been if it wasn't for this app?
I love this one. So before we talk about productivity, let's talk about intention. So a lot of people are looking for quick apps and life hacks and this and that, and let's listen to the podcast at 2x speed. But they forget maybe they should listen to the podcast that's right for them or listen to a shorter one. So I hope that before we get into productivity, whoever's listening out there, please have your head on straight and think about it before doing that. If we're talking, so now that we have that part conquered, I'm going to say something that's not the most exciting thing. It's not the coolest new app, but I think it's something that as we roll right into 2019, if you're in business for yourself or working for somebody else, if you are not doubling down serious on it, you are completely missing out on the world of what you could achieve. And get ready for it. It's LinkedIn, right? Not something brand new. It's like the old social network. Isn't that just for resumes? Come on, it's been out for 15 years. Who are you kidding? But you would be amazed how much business you can do, how much you can do for your personal brand. It's incredible. The kinds of connections and relationships and money that we make on there is absurd. Outside of like virality, word of mouth, repeat business, it's our best sales channel. And I think, again, you're going to have the focus and intentionality to do it right. But to use the web app as well as the mobile app, it's fantastic. It really is a game changer for pretty much any line of business. The whole professional world is on there.
I could not agree more. God, I love that so much because I really found my family, so to speak, on LinkedIn. Like, and I do say family because when you post there, people actually reply with awesome, candid responses, not just, oh, sweet man, or stupid arguments about, like what's going on in politics and stuff
Right.
that we have no control over, anyways. But the second last question is, what's a podcast that really inspired you to start your own podcast?
That's a good question. So I wouldn't say it's a single one. There's definitely different ones that I've been on or listened to. So I feel like I was saying before, constantly being self-aware, reinventing your business, reinventing how people see you. Because there have been people that have been following me for a decade. There's also people that have been following me starting on your episode, right? So people will come across you through different walks of life, different moments in time. So I've been on a lot of podcasts. I've been interviewed in a lot of different shows, and I've taken notes along the way, things I liked, things I didn't like. So it's really the amalgamation of my thoughts on just podcasting as an industry. I feel like too many episodes go way too long. It's not very focused. It's not really productive. I know that there's a stat that in America, the average commute's 25 minutes, and a lot of people listen to podcasts while they're commuting. So if a podcast is an hour, what the heck, right? That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I mean, I think that there were some specific ones that really kind of stood out. I know Daniel Geffen has a couple great shows. Jeremy Ryan Slate has a nice show out there. Dennis Brown has a real good one out there. Yours is real good too. But I think that what did it for me, I really wanted to find some way to kind of optimize and serialize the kind of messaging that I'm doing. So with my show, you're just listening to me have conversations with people that I would be having throughout the week anyway, to try to make their lives professionally better, right? So that's really what was doing it for me. I think it wasn't just a specific show that really gave me that push. I think between that and this is, to me, this seems like a creepy internet thing, but you know how sometimes people will like make weird comments on your appearance and stuff like that on the internet because the internet's weird. So people say that I have a nice sounding voice. It's not like a really like loud, like this summer announcer voice kind of thing, but just something pleasant to listen to. So I figured, hey, with voice as my strength and you don't have to do video and all that, that seemed to make a lot of sense for me. So it was really all those things together.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So cool. I am so fortunate to know pretty much every single podcaster that you mentioned, and I really do feel so blessed and lucky to know them. I want to round it out with, guys, please connect with Bryan on LinkedIn. Like, please do it. I'm gonna put in his LinkedIn in the show notes. Thank God for technology because it just takes not only a click of the mouse, but a click of the finger to be directed straight to his LinkedIn and say hey. And, please, I really am scared about this podcast just being for entertainment rather than you actually doing anything with it. So to round us out, I would love if Bryan could give you some homework. What's one little piece of homework that you think someone could do? Either maybe they answer a self-inquisitive question, or maybe something within their business, and they actually message you on LinkedIn. And I would love to give that person, a $10 Panera gift card or something like that, just for doing so.
Yeah, I love it, man. I think it's a fantastic concept to actually give people homework because another thing I like to say is inspiration is just like watching a movie. It's just like a short movie. It's theater. If you go back to sleep, you just sit back on the couch after doing it. What did you learn from it? So, you're a real thing here. If people aren't going to listen to the knowledge and depth of what you bring to this industry, then they're totally missing out. So I think it's fantastic that you're doing that. So since we're talking about connecting with me on LinkedIn, let's give them some LinkedIn homework, shall we? So I think that really a secret to the success of LinkedIn comes down to 3 simple steps. So when you reach out to me, I'm going to see if you have done these things. Ready? It's real simple and not really that simple. It's simple in the abstract. So the first thing is to have an incredible profile. It needs to be really fantastic looking from the profile picture of you, your avatar, right? And the whole background picture, your summary, all of that detail. If that doesn't look great and doesn't tell a good story, why should people even be connecting with you? You're not really that interesting. It's not a resume site. People have to understand there's a creator community there that's built up tremendously over the last 2 years, and there's 570 million people out there. So it's worth it to yourself to do that for your brand and your business. So that's first. Second, you have to actually be good at something, which sounds ridiculous, but if people don't know what you do, why should they reach out to you? So make it concise and make that stand out. That's part of your profile, part of your tagline, whatever it is. Okay. And then third is to make truly great original content. So don't link to your YouTube channel or whatever it is. Make some actual content for the community. It may take a few days or a few weeks to really learn what this community likes as compared to Instagram or Facebook or anywhere else. Every community has its own rules, official and unofficial. But do those things and then shoot me a message and say, hey, here's what I've got.
That is awesome. So the first person that does that, you're going to get an awesome Panera $10 gift card. The thing is, though, is it's going to be worth so much more than that, just that $10. To do that and to put that in a habitual practice, like Bryan said, straight up, you're going to build your brand. You're going to build your, potential connections with not only potential relationships where people might be inviting you to be their best man down the road for a wedding, but possibly doing business too, to put money in the back pocket. A lot of us love money, right? So this is just a little bit more motivation on top. So thank you so much, Bryan, though, for being on the show, man. You really just gave it all. I am super, super excited to share this with people, and I'm really excited to continue to listen to you. And I know this is not going to be the last time we speak because I'm connecting with a lot of stuff that you're doing, man, and I'm loving the LinkedIn, and I can't wait to meet you at LinkedIn Local one of these days.
Sounds like a plan, man. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your audience and sharing this moment with me.
100%.
Oh, wow. You made it to the very end of the show. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Scratch Your Own Itch with your host, Logan Tyler Nelson. To make it to the end, gosh, that doesn't happen very much nowadays. I mean, especially with the constant distraction. So, I appreciate all of the efforts that you just took out of your day to make it to the end. And if you hit that subscribe button and leave a review, you would have no idea what that would mean to me. So thank you so much for taking the time to hit that subscribe button. And if you leave a review, check it out. Just screenshot it, send it to me, and I'd love to host your review out on the show. But don't ever forget, like I say, you matter and you're enough.